So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we're joined by another great guest from SYFY's The Ark, that is, showing every Wednesday on SYFY and the next day on Peacock. It's a wonderful Stacey Read. Stacey, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You know what? It is a pleasure, and I've got to say, the last two episodes have been literally. There's so many questions, and obviously we don't want to spoil it for people. And if you haven't caught this show yet, check it out, because it's coming over to the UK in April, but it's only being shown over the pond at the moment. But it's absolutely awesome. It really, really is. But it's just an awesome show, and your character, of course, Alicia, is just amazing every time she's on screen. It's just awesome. You have some amazing moments. But before we talk about, obviously, the show, just a bit about yourself, really. I mean, why acting and why not a normal 9-to-5 job?
Would you like the long, detailed answer or the shortened version?
Whichever you like. I've got all night.
Okay, so the long, detailed version is I used to be incredibly shy. So going back to high school, initially a thing that stands out to me is I had to do a presentation in front of my class to present our homework, and I just couldn't do it. We were standing there, me and my friend, and I just ducked under the desk because I just couldn't do it. I was just staring at these faces staring at me, and I was like, no. And then my school put on a production of Little Shop of Horrors, and I remember one of the students just being alone on stage singing a song, and she just seemed so confident, and I was like, I need confidence like that. So I joined my high school drama club, and yeah, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with acting, and then it got to sixth form, so upper six, and all my friends were applying to university. Some of them were already hearing back. I had not started. And I had the realization of whatever I'm going to do in life, it needs to be something that I love and something that makes me happy. And I was like, oh, acting. I really love acting. So I kind of went into that and applied to drama schools here in the UK, got in, and here I am, having filmed The Ark last year. So it's going really well.
That is awesome. And it's quite common for actors to have a start like that, where they may not have been as confident as, general people, because I went into acting in my early life because of a stutter. So I had difficulty speaking. I couldn't say a sentence without literally it taking a week to get out. So acting, again, for me, gave me the confidence, because if I read a script or sang a song, I wouldn't stutter, which is just astonishing. It really, really is. So the fact that actors that are a bit shy, that are not that confident, can get on stage and become a complete different character, it's just fantastic. It really, really is. And you're originally from Zimbabwe, and I got to thinking, who else have we got, actors-wise from Zimbabwe? And one actor came to mind straight away, because I'm a massive fan of The Flash, and it's, of course, Rick Cosner. Which you and then I was looking, and the odd thing is you've got a connection with Rick because you was in Zim High with him, which is astonishing. What is he like to work with? Because he just seems such a gentleman. He really does.
This is going back. He's very, very lovely. So this was a movie that somebody from Zimbabwe had written, and they were producing and making back in Zimbabwe, and they got Rick on to do the project. And I was just there, like, in a bit of a minor role, but really excited because I was just like, acting. And yeah, Rick was so lovely because I also had watched The Flash, so I was a bit starstruck. I was like, oh my gosh, a Zimbabwean actor who's done so well for himself. But yeah, he was very, very kind. He was really good in giving pointers, and he was just really lovely to work with.
And obviously, you're living in the UK now. I mean, do you miss home? Are there certain things that you miss the most about Zimbabwe?
the sunshine, the heat.
What is sunshine and heat? I'm not sure I've come across that term before, especially here in the UK.
I mean, with the fog we had this morning, yeah.
Yeah, it was like something out of a horror movie. Driving
Was.
this morning, it really, really was. But no, I've lived in many sunny countries, and the sunshine literally lifts your spirits, keeps you healthier. So you certainly are missing that. So in your industry now, you've decided to be this actor. I mean, have you got a plan in place of what you want to achieve within this industry?
I mean, I guess like any other actor, win a few Oscars here and there. I think just as my initial goal into all of this, just to keep acting and, keep doing this as long as it keeps me happy.
I mean, obviously, you were studying your craft of acting, and obviously they train you very, very well. But what has been the biggest surprise for you? Because I presume that they prepare you for the outside world in the way of going for jobs and working on sets. I mean, what's been the biggest surprise for you to go from the classroom to the set?
It, I think everything is still a learning curve. So I remember being on set and still learning. We had because there was Christy, Richard, and Reese. They were great. It was pretty much like a masterclass in acting, watching them do their thing. And Reese was very good at picking up on camera angles, and that was something that I had to learn, which you don't really get to learn in a classroom in drama school. But also, I think the most terrifying thing is like these interviews, because you never get prepped for them. You never learn how to just be yourself and talk about, yourself. So I think this is a learning curve for me as well.
Yeah, you know what? It is an odd, experience, I suppose. And what I try and do is try and make it less as less formal, because you see these shows in America and they're very formal and they've got to do it a certain way. And obviously, me being from the UK, I'm very laid back and very sort of casual with it. Yeah, hopefully, I mean, I don't know if this is your first UK interview, because I was speaking to Ryan earlier on today and he's coming on the show next week, and apparently I'm going to be his first UK interview, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think in terms of the UK, this would be the first, I think.
Yes. Always good to be the first interview from the UK. So let's talk the Ark, because literally the Ark, we've had 2 episodes, and it's from the powerhouse duo Dean Devlin and Jonathan Glasner. And if anyone doesn't know who they are, they will do. If you've watched Stargate, if you've watched Independence Day, literally they are like the gods amongst the sci-fi worlds. So for all the people under the rocks that may not have seen this show yet, could you describe what the show is about and whom you play?
So essentially, Earth is not in a good place. It's been given about 70 years left. So this big tech kind of billionaire has invested some money into building these arcs, and my character gets to be on the first arc that gets, we're traveling towards Proxima B to then establish a colony there and, save humanity. But along the way, things aren't going very well. The ship kind of gets disrupted by something. We don't know what it is yet. And essentially, we're all just trying to survive the best we can and, accomplish the mission. The character I play is Alicia Nevins. She's wildly intelligent. She's so smart, but also very socially awkward. She gets very nervous when talking to people, so the thing that happens is all her thoughts just come straight out. And she's also very lovely, very optimistic, very positive, and all she wants to do is help people with the knowledge that she has. And I think she's doing a good job so far.
Do you know what? She is, as I said earlier, she's one of my favourite characters. And I think the reason is because she reminds me so much of my daughter, Lois. Because literally every bit of Alicia I can see in my daughter in years to come. I really can. Which isn't a bad thing, because obviously she's a great character on our screens. So what is it about the arc and your character that really attracted you to this project? I mean, why the arc? Why Alicia?
Well, for a start, we got sent the first episode along with the scenes that we had to audition with. So I got to read a draft of what the first episode was. And literally, it was so exciting. It was very gripping, as you've seen the first episode. And like that, drew me towards that. And then seeing who Alicia was in that first episode, I was like, oh, she seems pretty cool. I kind of like how smart she is. I like how she's, saving the day. But also, I remember when I filmed the self-tape, the person who was helping me film it, they literally, when we finished, they looked at me and said, you remind me a lot of this character. And yeah, she was so lovely, and I'm really lucky that I get to play her.
I mean, you mentioned that this person said that you remind them of this character. So how much, when you were developing the character, is you and how much is off the page?
I think I would say I like to think I'm as optimistic and positive as Alicia. I like to see the silver linings in things. I like to help people. So I think we're kind of along in that. I do tend to ramble, but not as much as she does. But in terms of intelligence, I think she is a whole other level. But yeah, because it's also one of my first essentially big role that I got to play, I brought a lot of myself into her. And I guess because we were filming in Serbia, and we were away from everything, it's kind of like, how do I say this? It's kind of like reality kind of mirrored everything that was happening on the arc as well, because for Alicia, she's thrown into this job role. She's, has to step up and just do a lot. And I felt like, oh, I'm a newbie in this too. So I think my path kind of mirrored hers in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I was using a lot of real life into the arc.
And the show has got quite a big cast. So what was it like, coming into this show and being amongst so many other actors in the same space? Because that must have been crazy.
I loved it. It's like, again, it was kind of mirroring what was happening in real life. So we all get to Serbia and we all essentially don't know each other, but these relationships and friendships, like I'm so lucky to say that I've formed some great friendships from that. And, being able to work with everyone on set and seeing how they worked and learning from them and forming these relationships on and off screen, I really enjoyed it.
I mean, talking about obviously watching other actors on the screens. So you've got Christy, you've got Reese, and you've got Richard, who are veterans amongst the cast. They really, really are. And as a young actor like yourself, with this being your first big sort of break, what did you take away from watching them? And did they give you any words of wisdom for the future?
I don't know about for the future. I mean, we still kind of keep in touch. So I think if anything did arise right now, I could easily just message one of them and say, help me. And they'd give me advice even now. But yeah, I think just being able to watch them and see how beautifully they acted their scenes and how they formed these characters. And it was really nice to see the professionalism that was set as well, because everyone just came to set, they knew what they were doing, they knew their lines, and being able to see all of that, I'm like, okay, this is how a set works. Cool. So yeah, I learned so much from them.
I mean, what I would say about this show, which I like the most, is that the writing is done so well that there isn't any small parts. There isn't. I wouldn't consider Reese, Christy, and Richard being the main leads, because characters like yours and the character of Angus, and they're all key parts to this story, this murder mystery, and that's what I love about the show. The fact that everyone's on equal pegging in the way of the story, which I think is great. So, I mean, obviously, I was messaging and talking with Ryan, who's coming on the show, as I mentioned earlier, next week, and he was saying that you guys were quite nervous on set, through the whole process. To be honest, I will be honest, I was trying to get some funny stories out of him about you. Because I always like to do a funny story segment. But you know what? You should text him and say, you're a true friend, because he didn't let anything slip. I mean, Christy let slip that Reese farted in her face. So it just shows what a good friend he is. Yeah, I know. And so he didn't give me anything to present to you. But were you really that nervous through the whole shooting schedule?
I'd say it got better towards the end. But yeah, the first few episodes, definitely, especially Dean directed the first episode, and Dean did such a fabulous job of making us feel so comfortable on set. But I just remember thinking, oh, this is my first big thing. I want to get everything right. Oh my gosh, I can't act badly in front of Dean. Yeah, there was a lot of nervousness, but through time it definitely eased up. And once you got into the role of things, you figured out how things worked. Also, being around such brilliant people who just made you feel so comfortable, like the cast and the crew, definitely helped. But yeah, Ryan and I, because we're both, I guess for both of us, this was our first big thing. And yeah, we just wanted to get it right and do the best job that we could do.
And what a big thing. What a first job to have, is being directed by Dean Devlin. I mean, I think anyone would be nervous, because you'd be thinking to yourself, this is make it or break it, because if he's impressed, that is me sorted out for his future, because of course the rumours are he's developing a new Stargate series, so who knows, you could be on that before we know it. So the Ark was filmed in Serbia, which I didn't realise that Serbia's got quite a rich sort of history of filmmaking. So what was that like, packing your bags and jetting off to Serbia, of all places?
This is going to sound probably very ignorant, but I thought it would be cold. I thought it would just be cold the whole time we were there. But when it came time for the summer, it reaches temperatures like 35 degrees. It was great. Like the summertime was beautiful, and we just all go down to, So on our days off where we'd hang out together, there's this like Adder Lake, kind of like a river, and we'd all just sit there, go for a swim, sit back. Richard would bring his guitar out and start playing, and it was really nice.
Well, Richard's got an amazing voice. He really, really has. So it sounds you've been all very, very lucky. But Serbia, in all the videos and pictures, it's always snow. It looks always cold. People have got thick coats on. So it's nice to know that it was red hot for you. So in the show, you play an American via other places, as you mentioned, I think in episode 2. I mean, how much of a challenge was it to perfect the dialect and work on the accent?
It was really nice. We had a voice coach that was given to us, Joe Alberti, and I worked with him for a little bit, and then I think just getting I liked the fact that her accent was international, because myself coming from Zimbabwe, when I came here to the UK, everyone didn't know what my accent was personally. I think it's turned more British as time's gone on. But I liked that Alicia's accent was just an amalgamation of everything, but centrally American, but like everything. So that was really fun to do.
And then, obviously, talking about accents and speech, your character talks very fast at times on the show. I think out of like excitement and wanting to get the information out. You have a lot of technical speak. How difficult was it to not only, juggle the accent, but then juggle these complicated phrases that you had to say at speed?
It was very hard. As you'll see, as the season goes on, you'll be like, oh, that's a technical thing she just said. But honestly, it was just a lot of repetition, going back into the hotel room, going over my lines over and over, and then, a lot of research as well, but getting it as comfortable in my mouth to then do it at speed, because Alicia she talks very, very quickly. So trying to get it at speed, I think, was one of the hardest things, because I'd always find myself tongue-tied on these really big words. But I had such a lovely cast. They were so patient with me. So every time I messed up, it was fine. But yeah, just a lot of repetition, really.
And the show obviously takes place in space. So working on the set, obviously, it wasn't in space. So seeing the Finnish article, how amazing was that? And what surprised you the most from going from filming on set to actually watching the Finnish article?
I mean, it wasn't that far off, because what was amazingly done is they built essentially the whole thing. So it was there for us to interact with, and that made our jobs a lot easier to do. The only difference seeing it, the finished product, is just seeing, the CGI that gets put in and the stars in the background. But apart from that, the rooms were built, the consoles were there, the hallways were built. So it was very practical. And yeah, that was it's amazing what they were able to do. Even the bioshelter, that was there. There was a lot of mud, so much mud. But again, it's there for us to interact with.
And did the prop masters tell you off for pressing buttons? Because I know if I was on a spaceship, I'd be pressing every single button known to man. I really would.
No, I did not get told off, but I literally did exactly that. So in between scenes, I'm very curious as a person. So I'd like to go over to each button, because they were labeled as well. And I'd like to see, oh, that's what that one is. That's what that one is. And then I liked pushing the buttons. Some of them turned, some of them were slidey ones. So I played around with them a lot.
It was like a sensory board.
Yeah. Yes. Honestly, I love the sensory cubes. I fidget a lot. As you can see, I use my hands a lot. Yeah, fine. That was really fun.
And then obviously in season 2, we see that, there's a new relationship flourishing, that we could see Alicia maybe, forming a new relationship. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. So without your NDA exploding, what have we got in store for Alicia in, the rest of the season?
Ooh, me trying to navigate the answer. Just essentially seeing her grow as a person. That's because she, again, this is all new to her. She got on this ship. She's very young as well, and she's super intelligent, but she's very young. So she got onto this ship thinking, once we land in Proxima B, I'm going to be surrounded by all these brilliant scientists. I'm going to learn from them. So you're going to see her, step into the position that she's in a lot more, gain a lot more confidence, which is nice, and, make friendships, because that's something Alicia, she just wants to make friends. So you get to see her make these friendships and relationships with people.
I mean, I've got to say, the characters that we see on screen, it's no mystery that obviously someone's died on the ship, and we don't know who the killer is. I've got to say that my money was definitely on Lane for it not to be him, but obviously things may have changed, and I'm just thinking now of Nevins. Could Nevins be the killer? We don't know. It will be funny though, because it's been the last person that we would imagine, being the stone-hearted killer. But who knows? And that's the beauty of this show, that every episode makes you think of a different, possibility, which keeps you on your toes, and you really cannot wait for the next episode to come out. So did you manage to sneak any keepsakes from the set? Did you manage to keep any mementos?
Maybe. Well, no. What was really nice is when we all wrapped up, the costume department gave us these like personalized. I got a really nice top from the costume department, and on the back it says Nevins, and then on the inside says Arc 1. So that was a really nice keepsake to keep.
Oh,
Yeah.
you didn't steal any of your jumpsuits or anything like that?
I wish. Honestly, Alicia's got some great costumes, and I really wanted to take them all back with me. I would have just left all my personal clothes and just taken Alicia's, but sadly, I was not allowed to. I tried.
Which is a good sign, because any rumours yet of season 2 being announced? Do we know, for the fans out there?
Honestly, I know as much as you do.
Do you know what?
But
Well,
I think if we keep getting a good response, I was just saying, if we keep getting a really good response, as long as fans really enjoy the show, I think there might be, hopefully.
And
I really
do you know
want there
what?
to be.
Yeah, of course. We've got to keep you working, get you back to Serbia by that lake, listening to Richard singing his Sweet Nothings on his guitar. I couldn't think of anything more pleasurable to the ears. But I've got to say, the show is amazing. So it's streaming on Peacock the day after. So it's Wednesdays on SYFY, Peacock on Thursday. I just cannot wait for more episodes to come out. But Stacey, you've been a great guest. It's been an honour and a privilege to have you on the show, because it's great to have guests on from shows that I actually personally love. So it's been a pleasure. Keep safe and stay super.
Thank you so much. It was so lovely talking to you.